Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy Brandon Swims, and we are back with another movie review. I apologize for the delay in between movie reviews, but I'm really trying to make sure that when I review a movie, I can do the best I can talking about it. So, the movie that we're going to be talking about today is Nosferatu, directed by Robert Eggers, starring Lily Rose Depp, Nicholas Hoult, Willem Dafoe, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Bill Skarsgård, and Ralph Ineson. This movie is a retelling of the Dracula book by Bram Stoker, and it really is one of the best adaptations of the book that we have gotten ever. The synopsis of this film is that in the 1830s, a state agent, Thomas Hutter, travels to Transylvania for a fateful meeting with Count Orlok, a prospective client. In his absence, Hutter's new bride Ellen is left under the care of their friends, Friedrich and Anna Harding. Plagued by horrific visions and an increasing sense of dread, Ellen soon encounters an evil force that's far beyond her control. One thing about this movie is that as it starts off, you are truly immersed into the Victoria Gothic setting that this film is supposed to take place in. This movie is weird, creepy, and emotional. Seeing Count Orlok on the screen is chilling and unsettling. As Bill Skarsgård plays him, he is truly unrecognizable. I think that he plays his part so perfectly, and it nails that classic Transylvania accent that we often hear people mock when they're talking as a vampire. Taking on this role, Bill hired an opera coach to lower his voice an octave, and it makes his voice unrecognizable as well as all the prosthetic work that went into the film. He is truly unrecognizable. You have no idea that Bill Skarsgård is behind Count Orlok. If you didn't know going into that film, you would have no idea who was behind there. That's how genuinely different of a film this is when you're looking at a character played by Bill Skarsgård. The whole cast in this film have electrifying performances, and it's some of the best acting that you could have asked for. This movie for me was a highly anticipated watch, and I was so impressed by it the first time that I went back and saw it 3 days later. I saw it on Christmas Day, and then 3 days later on Saturday, I saw it again with my brother-in-law. And I was just as impressed the second time as I was the first time when I watched it, and this movie, for me, is probably one of the top 5 movies ever. To say that I am impressed with Robert Eggers' work would be an understatement. I have now seen each of his films multiple times, and I have to say that I personally feel he is incapable right now of directing a bad film. His first film that I ever watched was The Witch, starring Anya Joy-Taylor, and it is a movie that still I watch to this day and I'm still impressed by. I think that he put so much time and effort into making a movie that's going to swoon people as they watch it, and it's shown in each film how much he's dedicated to making sure that is the case. What works for me in this film is that he really nails the gothic feel that the book Dracula has. It translates really well from page to screen. Robert Eggers worked so hard with the cinematography team and the actors to make sure that they nail this adaptation. This is the first legal adaptation of Dracula since he's gone into public domain in 2019. Another person who blew me away in this film was Lily Rose Depp. Lily Rose Depp's character Ellen has one of the most interesting stories to tell, and the performance by Lily as Ellen really nails this to a T. You feel every emotion that she's feeling in the film. You know how Ellen's feeling, and you can see it translated well on the screen. Personally, I had not seen her in anything outside of The King. I know that she was in a series with The Weeknd, but I had never watched it. I heard terrible things about that, so I just never checked it out. So this was my first real exposure to her outside of The King, and I think that she's genuinely one of the best actresses for this film, and they could not have casted anybody in this film any better. Something in this film that I think is really interesting is that there are things that happen on screen that people watching will be able to feel and relate to. For example, Ellen is struggling throughout the whole movie with choices that she made when she was younger. And I think a lot of that is something that people can relate to because people often make mistakes when they're younger that affect their life as they're growing up. And so everybody's trying to leave those in the past. Maybe not to the scale of what Ellen did, but I think that this is just one example of how the film is able to be relatable. This film's opening scene starts off on an extremely high level, and it just stays there during the duration of the film. It has some of the coolest cinematic shots that I've seen in a film, and use of color in those shots as well. There are multiple scenes where the lighting is just like the moonlight setting, and so in those moonlight settings, you get kind of this bluish hue, and it makes you feel like the only thing that this character is seeing, and when they're having this conversation, it's nighttime. You can clearly tell it's nighttime. Their faces are only illuminated by that blue hue And it's really interesting the way that it kind of works, because those scenes truthfully feel like they take place at nighttime. I think often in films, when you have nighttime settings, they don't necessarily feel like taking place at night, but the work of the camera shots and the color of the shots works really well to kind of portray that. For me, this is genuinely the perfect vampire film, and it's really good on every level. I think that the story plays out incredibly well during the 2 hour and 12-minute runtime and has good pacing and development throughout. I just want to take a quick moment and talk about one of my favorite scenes from this film. There's going to be minimal spoilers in this, but I just want to talk about one of the things that I appreciated the most seeing the movie. So in this scene, Thomas finally gets to Transylvania after traveling from Germany and comes face to face with Count Orlok. This kicks off a story that, as Thomas is going through this, he's haunted by Orlok, and he no longer knows what's real and what is not real, and he really struggles with that while he's in the castle. This also comes into play later, and this is why I appreciate it so much. Ellen and Thomas are having a conversation based upon her feeling ashamed of the choices that she made when she was younger, and she's scared to tell him, and he basically says that there's nothing in this world that she could tell him that will scare him. There's a devil in this world, and I have met him, is what she says. The line's delivery and impact to the conversation is just so beautiful for me. Thomas is telling Ellen, regardless of what you've done in the past, it cannot scare me away. I love you unconditionally. There are so many things in the film that are like that are metaphors for real-life situations, and this film is truly one of the best films that I had watched in 2024. If you're looking for a vampire flick and you're looking for something that adapts the Bram Stoker Dracula book, look no further. I highly recommend Nosferatu. Let me know if you guys have seen it down in the comments what your thoughts were, and I'll catch you guys in the next Swims review. Peace.